It is a dimension as vast as space and as timeless as infinity. It is the middle ground between light and shadow, between science and superstition, and it lies between the pit of man's fears and the summit of his knowledge. This is the dimension of imagination. It is an area which we call shots. Todd, this episode of Shots about Justice League was directed by you and I, but then rewritten and reshot by Joss Whedon.
That's you weren't too sure about how you were going to open it. When? I give it that. I give you that.
So this is Justice League. We're going to talk about it. Like we do most of our movie episodes of Shots, we're going to do a sort of spoiler-free section at the top, at the beginning of this, and then we're going to make a clear spoiler warning once we start going into spoilers. So just so you guys know, if you're one of those like crybabies on the internet where you're like, fucking anything's a spoiler, and you know, you get all butthurt and start talking shit in the comments, maybe don't listen to this at all. Go see the movie first and then go listen to it. Because, you know, some people will like listen to this very sensitive about spoilers, you know? They'll be like, oh, fucking Batman's in it? You know? just stupid shit that's like, you know, common knowledge and is already in the trailers and all that. But, yeah, so if you're sensitive about that stuff, you know, tune out and come back after you've watched it. So spoiler free, why don't you start us off, Todd? What are your spoiler free thoughts on Justice League?
So when I left the theater, I was actually I was a little more harsh when I first left the theater until I actually sat there and thought about it. But again, for the most part, I actually like the movie. And it's easily, well, again, that's not saying much, but it is probably one of the better DC movies, without a doubt, if not the best.
What's funny is, like, I think first of all, everybody that I've talked to, it seems to be a recurring phenomenon of people that leave the theater feeling negative about it, and then the more they think about it, the more they actually like it. However, unabashedly, straight up, like, no bullshit, I really like this movie. Like, I know a lot of people are probably listening to this hoping to hear me shit on this or something like that. You're not going to. I like this movie a lot, actually. I came out of the theater like really happy with it. And it's not the best. It's probably the worst. I mean, this year's been fantastic for superhero movies. I mean, you know, when you look at like Wonder Woman and Spider-Man Homecoming and Thor Ragnarok, all those are fantastic. Like, some of my favorite superhero movies of all time came out this year. Justice League is not in that same tier, but it is like 10,000 steps in the right direction. Like, that's my overall takeaway from it, is like, I don't, you know, and a lot of people have been saying this and stuff, I don't necessarily like how we got here, but now that we're here, I think we're in a good place. I think this movie does more right than wrong, and I'm left feeling hopeful about DC movies moving forward in a way that I was not feeling hopeful before. Like, because I'm one of those people, and I think you and I both like Batman v Superman. I was one of those people that was pretty happy with Batman v Superman overall, but I felt a little ashamed of liking it as much as I did.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that, because I think I just watched it recently, in the last couple of months.
I like that movie more than a lot of people do. And that movie is like super flawed, and like that movie's a fucking mess. And I was kind of going into Justice League expecting it to be more of a mess than it was, because I've seen several like negative reviews and stuff like that, and it's had a disappointing opening weekend. People have been shitting on it and stuff like that. I was expecting a huge mess that I was still going to enjoy anyway, in the same vein of Batman v Superman. But what I got is a movie that I enjoy unashamedly. Like, it's not like Batman v Superman where I'm like, okay, this movie's bad, but I still like it. This movie's Justice League is good, I think. I think Justice League works in a way, like, it works in an impressive way that I didn't really expect it to. And is it perfect? No. It has issues. The villain is like super lame, you know, and of course, like I think a lot of people bring their sort of Marvel baggage into it. It's like trying to do the Avengers thing, but these are characters that we're not familiar with yet, so it doesn't quite feel like the Avengers or anything. But I feel like the movie takes that issue and makes it work in a way that like we're not familiar with these characters yet, and these are the first time we're meeting like a lot of this Justice League team. But the movie like spins so many plates super well that I don't feel like I'm missing a whole lot. You know, because the lineup here, right? Batman, Wonder Woman, Superman, Flash, Aquaman, Cyborg. That's kind of the lineup. Half of that cast we know nothing about. Have never had their own solo movie or anything like that. We've only seen clips of them in previous DCEU movies, right? And so I you know that's a problem that DC and Warner Brothers had coming into this, and I think they've actually handled it relatively well. I like that we get little tastes of these characters' worlds.
Yeah.
I don't want to say too much more before we move into full spoilers. So spoiler free, you know, just sort of reaction. I liked it. Todd liked it. Todd, are you ready to move into spoilers?
Yes, I am.
If you haven't seen the movie, go see it and come back. What I mean when I say like we get little touches of these characters' worlds. So like with Aquaman, we do get to see sort of his interaction with Mira and stuff like that, which was cool.
You know, I was actually surprised actually with one thing, because now we're in the spoilers. It seems like it was actually the first time he even went there.
Yeah, he seems like he's sort of like disenfranchised with Atlantis, and he's sort of cast out, and there's like this stuff going on where he has this animosity towards his mother and stuff like that.
Well, I think that's kind of always. I think that's always a thing.
It is
earlier takes with like his, and like
it's always kind of a part of his character, and it's you know this is an interesting take on Aquaman, because like he sort of behaves like Jason Momoa's Aquaman is a few things. He's extremely sexy. He's just an attractive man, like there's no doubt about it. I like this take with like the tattoos and stuff like that, and the long hair and stuff like that, and he doesn't look as stupid as I thought he would underwater, you know, like getting that little snippet of Aquaman's sort of world, getting that snippet of him actually going and interacting with Mira and stuff. I'm like, okay, like I could watch an entire movie like this. You know,
I said this to you before we even started recording. Like, just seeing him as Aquaman, I'm super ready for the solo film, honestly.
Yeah, and it was cool to get little glimpses of like of his sort of world, and it was cool to get like of Cyborg's interaction with his father and Flash's interaction with his, and to get these little like kind of glimpses of everybody's little personal lives, even before they joined up as a team. I think that was really effective, and like. That's something that I didn't expect going into this. Like, going into this, I was like, oh, fuck. Like, they're going to try... There's going to be too much going on at once. We're not going to get... You know, nobody's going to get their due, you know, and I'm not going to come away caring about any of these characters. No. I like them all. I like this take on Flash. I like that he's sort of, like, extremely new to it, to the point where he's never even done combat before. Like, he... is very unfamiliar with his powers. Like, yeah, he's tinkered with like his suit and everything, and he's, you know, he stops like little convenience store robberies and shit like that, but he's never done anything major, you know?
Yeah.
Very, very new to it all. And he, you know, seems like he's on the autism spectrum and stuff like that.
Yeah, sticking on Flash is just like, I was very hesitant about Ezra Miller as the Flash. But again, as I was watching him, like I understand what they were using him as, like, you know, the comedic relief, which I think you said it before we started recording, is like sometimes it fell flat, but for the most part, like he was good. He was good shit.
A lot of people were like, "Oh, he's hit and miss. He misses more than he hits." Not for me. I thought he was pretty funny.
I think he hit for me more than he missed.
Yeah.
I just enjoy that, just like the quirkiness of the way they wrote him in this film, and. I was digging like the electric discharge in the movie.
Yeah, that was pretty good. I liked that. I liked the, like, I liked the sort of like, yeah, he's quirky and he's weird, and like I said, seems like he's on the spectrum a little bit. And this is like, when you look at Flash, typically, like, he's sort of just this kind of like, charismatic sort of like devil may care type or whatever, this roguish kind of type. And I think a lot of people will go into this comparing it to Grant Gustin doing the CW Flash and everything.
Mm-hmm.
This is a different take on that character, and I think, and you and I talked about this in the past too, like I am so much more willing, even as a huge DC fanboy, like I vastly, like, in terms of the actual universe, I'm much more leaning as a DC guy than a Marvel guy. Even with all of that baggage removed, like, I think it's okay that this is a different take, and I think it works. Like, I like the way he fits in with the rest of the team, and I like that. I like this take on the character. I don't know.
Yeah, definitely.
Cyborg is a little he's a little more like traditional in terms of like this take on Cyborg, but I still like the way that, like, he is kind of a tragic character, and he is kind of like a almost like a Frankenstein's monster kind of character, I liked this take on Cyborg. Like, I liked the way that I don't remember the actor's name, but I liked the way he handled the character. Like, he did not seem, he has a legitimate arc,
Mm-hmm.
The movie, and I think I said this to you, like, the movie's overall message is about like life and finding the value in it and stuff, and Cyborg has a legit arc where, like, when he starts off, he's very like brooding, and he's like, God, like, I'm a monster, like, fucking all this has happened to me, like, basically the typical I didn't ask for this bullshit,
Yeah.
Which we've seen a million times in fiction like this, but it works in that he does sort of find his place, and he does realize that he can be a force for good, and that his life is worth living, And even though Cyborg doesn't get a whole lot of meat to chew on, he does stand out even beyond that. But then, like, you have the people that we are familiar with, like Batman, Wonder Woman, and Superman, back again, and they're all just as good as they've ever been. I thought I saw a lot of people in the reviews were like, "No, Ben Affleck clearly doesn't care anymore. He's phoning it in." I didn't think so.
No,
I loved him in this movie.
Yeah, same. Like, again, I actually really like Ben Affleck's Batman.
I'm a big fan of the Batfleck, and I really like the I like the interplay with Jeremy Irons as Alfred. I think he's a great Alfred. Like, I liked J.K. Simmons as Gordon. Like, I liked that shit. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, there's actually a few parts, and a lot of people are like, oh yeah, the well written parts are probably the Whedon parts. The cynicism going into this movie is insane. Because Whedon rewrote and reshot several of the scenes after Zack Snyder had a family tragedy, and stepped down from directing. Whedon sort of like finished the job. Most of a solid chunk of this movie is still Zack Snyder, but Whedon redid a lot of stuff. And there's some real, like, I thought some real human interactions that really worked for me. Like, the arguments and conversations between Bruce and Diana.
Yeah, those are
really
good.
work for me.
Yeah.
Like, that, I love that shit. Like, I love the conversation of, like, of how Diana was kind of like you can't, hide in the shadows or whatever, and Bruce is kind of like you've been fucking hiding for like 100 years. Like, is that something Steve Trevor told you type shit?
Mm-hmm.
And she took, she took that hard.
Oh yeah.
And and there's that interaction later on where he's like, tell you what, after all this is over, hide as much as you want. You could even wear a bat suit. I won't sue.
Yeah, they got a chuckle out of me.
Like, I liked that, and I, for what it's worth, I said at the top of this, I don't like the way we got here, but I like where we ended up. Now, the reason I say that is, I really dislike that we had to do the Death of Superman thing with BVS leading into this movie. I understand the reason they did it is because they want to have, like, the whole what's the world without Superman story, and the comeback and all that. I wish, I can't help but feel like there's a better way to go about that than this. You know? I can't help but feel like you didn't have to literally kill him and literally dig him out of his grave, which was creepy and weird. And I like that Flash actually was like, this is creepy and weird, basically. I like that they leaned into it, but this movie just, it felt like it had a lot of like cleaning up to do. Like, it felt like the Justice League movie had a lot of like, okay, there's a lot of stupid shit with the DC, cinematic universe. Let's clean it up and let's get it to this. This movie felt like a rebirth in a lot of ways. Like, this movie felt like its own version of DC Rebirth, where it's like, okay, let's kind of reset. Let's hit the reset button a little bit. And now that Superman's back, Superman in this movie is so fucking like hopeful and fun and funny, and like, like he says, like I don't want to die again. Like, like he actually enjoys his life and stuff. He's not brooding. He is not the same Superman we saw in Man of Steel, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I love that. Like, his suit is actually fucking blue now. Like, I love that. I love where Superman is right now. And the interactions with Lois are like whatever. Like, I think Lois is pretty weak in this movie.
Yeah, I'm with you on that, honestly.
Yeah, like that's neither here nor there. But
she was the big gun though.
I did like that. The big guns were, because you think of that and you sort of assume that that's gonna be like, oh fucking, let's lodge a kryptonite rocket into him or something like that. No, he means the big guns is getting Lois out and reminding him of who he is. There's that weird shit where fucking when he has Batman like kind of by the neck or whatever, was it just me or was he like straight up talking in a British accent? Like,
I think he was actually.
Yeah, like Henry Cavill's British, and when he had Batman, I mean, it works because like he didn't really know who he was or whatever, so maybe his brain was all fucked up from the mother box or whatever.
Yeah.
But he's got Batman and like he's just straight up like talking to him and I'd be like with a British accent. I was like, this is weird. I was like, what the fuck is going on? And then he when he talks to Lois, he sounds normal American Clark Kent. I'll say this. Lois has that weird, like, kind of ending monologue, which is honestly pretty dumb, and I was tuning it out and everything by the end of it.
I'm going to be completely honest with you. I don't remember that ending monologue.
She does she's finally kind of sitting back down at the, at the Daily Planet or whatever, and she's finally starting to write again, because after Clark's death, she was not able to work or whatever, and so she starts to write again. She's kind of doing an internal monologue while she's writing, and the voiceover for that plays over the ending montage. And you start to tune it out, but I do love that the last shot of this movie, and again, Superman is finally able to be Superman. He's out in the crowd, and he rips open his shirt, right? And the last words of this movie are, "Look up in the sky." You know?
Yeah.
That's so cool. Like, I love... Just as a DC fan, like, to get to this point, it took us a long time to get here. The road here was messy. No doubt about it, right? But, like, now that we're here, I left that theater so happy. I left that theater with a sense of hope and a sense of, like I felt like Superman and Cyborg at the end talking about, I don't want to die, I have too much to live for, this, that, and the other, which I loved. It almost felt like an allegory for the DC cinematic franchise. Like, I don't want to die. I have a lot to live for.
I think I joked about this about you recently. I was like, this is the writer / like, you read into it.
I do. I read into shit a little too much, but I think there is something to be said about that.
But no, I part of me actually does agree with you. Yeah. It's
sort of the call for like look, like this is what this universe is capable of. There is good in us. And now, we hit the reset button. Like, we don't want to die. We have too much to live for. This universe is worth caring about. I left to BVS kind of being like, I like the movie overall. I like Ben Affleck and stuff like that, but I guess we'll see where it goes. I left this movie happy and hopeful and excited about where the DC cinematic universe is heading. And I want to transition a little bit to talk about an overall point that I made talking to you earlier about the movie. Like, people I actually can't believe how harsh people are being to this movie. And of course everybody's entitled to their own opinion and stuff like that, but this movie, I just can't, I cannot convince myself that this movie is as bad as everybody says it is. Like, people just are shitting on this movie, and I'm telling you, people are coming into this movie wanting to dislike it.
Yeah.
Like, they come into this movie with preconceived notions, wanting to hate it. And I really do think that. Like, that sounds like the sort of, like, cries of a DC fanboy.
But you're honestly on the right track, dude. Like, because everybody's just nitpicking the living shit out of this movie.
In ways that we never see people nitpick, you know, Marvel movies. Like, why do you give Marvel movies the benefit of the doubt that you don't give DC movies? For me, you know, I go into any of these movies, I go in wanting to love it, and with my expectations set firmly neutral in the middle, you know, or whatever. And like, I end up either, you know, being let down or not, and that's fine. Like, but don't go into these movies just doing the whole DC versus Marvel thing. Like, take it for what it is. You know, is the movie perfect? No. Like, let's talk about the villain for a little bit. Steppenwolf is a lame villain, right?
Again,
like,
I've said it for a while. It's just, I understand why they used Steppenwolf. Like, they didn't want to blow their load and use Darkseid, like, right then and there.
Yeah, you want to have just kind of like the Kmart Darkseid, you know, at the beginning.
That's a good way of putting it.
Yeah, like, you just want to, like, he poses a threat, but he's very, like, I actually felt like Steppenwolf was kind of a little too in the background in general. Like, he poses a threat to the world, but there's actually literally, when they're doing the whole shit with Superman, he literally, Steppenwolf just kind of sneaks in there. He's like, no, I got the mother box now, bitch. like he doesn't even make a big deal about it.
It's funny. It's kind of like, that was kind of his deal though with this, like, his second coming here. Basically, it was just like, all right, I fucked up that last time with the actual full on battle. What I'm gonna do now is just slip right in and get these mother boxes.
Pretty much,
and fuck
yeah.
the world.
And his motivations are very, like, it's very generic. Like, he basically, there are 3 mother boxes, one held by the Amazonians, one held by the Atlanteans, and one held by man. And it told, you know, and that sort of exposition is told in a very cool, very fucking cool flashback sort of sequence that showcases the Green Lanterns.
Yeah. Oh, that was fucking awesome.
Which was amazing. I was like, I'm so glad that was not spoiled for me coming into this. Holy shit. Like, seeing the Green Lanterns, I was like, are you shitting me? Like, we're actually seeing this.
I had the same reaction. I was like, yes.
It was so cool. So fucking cool. I was so happy to see that. And then, like, and then you see, like, Zeus and stuff. Like, it's so badass. Like, fuck. Like that's what I want to see, you know? So yeah, that's sort of the whole setup, is he wants to get these 3 mother boxes and essentially he wants to turn Earth into Apocalypse. Which is whatever. And he actually name drops Darkseid and stuff like that. Which is cool, you know, whatever the case may be. So it's not, he's got lame motivations, pretty generic, I want to destroy the world motivations. And yes, it's not another superhero movie where they fight an army of, like, you know, bugs and insects and aliens, basically. That stuff is all true. But at the end of the day, that is not what this movie is about.
Mm-hmm.
This movie is not about the conflict. This movie is about the team. This movie is about the characters. And I think the movie actually handles the characters very deftly and treats them with care. And I think the character interactions are handled extremely well. There's that scene where Aquaman is lassoed.
I was
so
hoping
good.
you'd bring up that scene. I fucking love that scene.
Like, I love the little interactions like that between the characters. Like, and it doesn't feel, for us, for this being the first real time we've interacted with these characters, those moments feel earned in a way that is surprising. Like, it is impressive that they were able to pull this off, basically. Like, coming into this, I was like, oh my god, we don't know these characters at all. It's
like they definitely learned from the mistake with Suicide Squad.
Right. Suicide Squad is an example. I think coming into this, Suicide Squad is what this movie could have easily been. Where it's like at the end of it, they're fucking just, oh, we family, Holmes. And it's like, no, you're not. Get the fuck over it. Like, no, you're fucking not. You don't get that sense of like family with the Suicide Squad. That movie is a fucking mess. And coming into Justice League, I was like, okay, so this is gonna be a mess or whatever. You know, everybody's saying this movie sucks. It's a mess. Blah blah blah. And I was expecting it to be another Suicide Squad, and it totally isn't. Like, this movie fucking works, man, in a big bad way.
Yeah.
And it brought me such joy to see these characters behaving the way that I want to see them. It's not as if Batman's not the same brutal guy he was in BVS. And this is a point that I made even when BVS was out. BVS was Batman at his low point. And we saw him throughout the course of that movie. We saw Batman transform into the Batman that we want to see. And I thought that was handled a lot better than, I think that's a lot of the trepidation people have with BVS that I don't have.
I'm going to call out one scene right now that kind of had me laugh. Is Batman's face when Superman came in at the end.
Yeah, he looked like downright giddy.
That
was good. Like, I don't know, man. Like, I just,
Dude,
oh my God.
There's a lot of good shit going on in this movie.
This movie does more right than wrong. And, you know, I want to talk about, so Danny Elfman did the score of this movie. And there are a couple, it's mostly unremarkable, but there are a couple moments like the music that plays during this, near the beginning, that sort of bank robbery / terrorist bomb threat thing with Wonder Woman. The music that plays during that sequence, I was like, okay, this feels ripped right out of like a Tim Burton movie. Like, I loved it. Like, I loved the music that plays there felt like it was a total like traditional Danny Elfman Batman track. And that was great. And then, you know, like you get that, you know, Wonder Woman theme mixed in there too, which is a great theme. Like, I love that Wonder Woman theme.
Yeah, same.
And then like they mix in the 1989 Batman theme, and like it's sort of like, it's not like a huge swell. Like, it never puts it straight in your face, but it mixes it in with like the ambient music. And I just, man, that made me so happy. That shot when Gordon throws up the bat signal or whatever, and then you sort of see Batman like perched up, and it plays that swell of the 89 Batman theme.
Yeah, dude, it was good.
That's exactly what I want. Like, that's exactly what I want. When that solo Batman movie comes out, like, that makes me so like, fuck, like, this is what I want to see out of that. Like, ugh. That's exactly what I want. And this movie gives me exactly what I want in a lot of ways. And that to me is more valuable than picking apart every single solitary little thing it does wrong.
Yeah.
Like,
just enjoy the movie for what it is.
Yeah, just go in there and just enjoy. Like, this is a good interpretation of these characters, and you know, it's the DC universe is left in a place that, you know, that makes me really happy and really hopeful for the future, you know. And you know, the post-credit scenes were a lot of fun and stuff, and I don't know, like, I left the theater with a big old smile on my face. I was just very, very happy with this movie overall, in a way that I was not expecting to be, because, you know, as a DC fan, like, I'm used to getting kicked in the teeth. Like, it's just how it's been for a long time. And I just really hope that it's not too little too late, because people are coming into this again wanting to hate it and ready to shit on it. Pants are already pulled down. They're already crouched over it, ready to shit in its mouth, right? But, like, I don't want that to discourage people from seeing this movie that is legitimately good, and kill this franchise. Like, I don't want this to be too little too late, because DC isn't putting out very much next year. Marvel's got, like, what, 3 movies, I think, next year?
Is that the deal? Is that what they got going on?
They have Black Panther, they have Ant-Man and the Wasp, and they have Infinity War, right?
Dear God, dude.
They have those 3, because I think the deal is, I think Black Panther's in, like, February, I think Infinity War is in May, and then I think Ant-Man is in July.
Okay.
I think that's the deal. And then, like, all DC has is next December. That's when the solo Aquaman movie's coming out, and that's what DC has for next year. And I just feel like nobody's gonna fucking go. Like, people are gonna, like, people, again, this movie had a disappointing box office, opening weekend or whatever, compared to Warner Brothers' initial projections. And I just don't want Warner Brothers to be discouraged from this because, like, again, going back to Superman, what he's like, I don't want to die. Like, I don't want this franchise to die. I like where we're at. Like the ship is finally starting to steer in the right direction. I liked BVS. Wonder Woman is fantastic. Wonder Woman's one of my favorite, one of my favorite superhero movies of all time.
Yeah.
But now that the ship is finally going in the right direction, like, we need to support that. Like,
definitely. I think
more of this.
Yeah, definitely more of this. And I think a saying that can, like, a statement of how I feel about the film series now is, like you just said, for BVS. After BVS, it's like, all right, let's see where this goes. Now I want to see where this goes.
Yeah, like, totally. I'm on board with this, and like I said, we hit the reset button a lot of ways, and we have this stuff established. Like, give it the chance to, to continue this path, and I really hope, that Warner Brothers supports this franchise going forward. I really do. I really hope that the naysayers and the people who are coming into this with a negative mind, just ready to hate it, I hope that they don't just straight up kill this franchise, because it's worth saving. Like, fuck. I mentioned this moment to you. I loved that moment where Batman is talking to Flash, and Flash is like, he's kind of intimidated by Steppenwolf and the parademons and stuff, and he's like, Steppenwolf have some hostages, and he's like, I've never done combat before, I'm kind of freaking out right now. And Batman's like, just go in there and save one person.
Mm-hmm.
Just save one person. You will have done some good. Just save one. Get one of them out of here. And he's like, all right, I think I can do that. And Batman said that because he knows that the second he does it and he pulls it off, like Flash goes in there and he saves somebody, and he realizes, like, okay, Flash is a hero now. Like, he's now addicted to being a hero.
Mm-hmm.
And I loved that, man. Like, stuff like that permeates this movie. This franchise is worth saving.
Definitely.
Anyway, that's about all I have. Is there anything you wanted to add before we wrap this up?
We shout out a couple other scenes, I guess.
What do you want to shout out?
Shit, I gotta shout out that Batman. The Superman and the Flash moment. Not just
where Flash is, like, running around Superman. He's kind of preoccupied with the other members, and Superman's, like, slowly turning his head, and Flash is like, "Oh fuck."
That shit had me dying. I was actually laughing pretty hard in the theater. I was like, "Oh shit, that's good."
And Superman's face, like, he's got this, like, snarl, dude.
Like he's just like, "I'm gonna fuck."
He's mean mugging the shit out of him. For better or for worse, a lot of this movie sort of throwing away these sort of Snyder-isms of it, and that's I hate to say it, that's maybe a good thing.
Yeah.
But there's some good shit in this movie in terms of the writing. However, and I said this to you before, I swear to God, Barry Allen's dad cannot open his mouth without making a fucking speed pun or running pun. Oh my God, like that annoyed the shit out of me. He's like, "You're just I can't stop you anymore, Barry. You're just running in place here.
It's like, so we get it. He's the Flash.
Need to slow down, Barry." Fucking God damn it, dude. Like, but there's good character moments, good movie. Does it have its problems? Yes, but, like, it's stick with it, man. Like, this DC universe is something special, and I think it has so much potential. And I think we're finally starting to see it realize that potential. I left the theater very happy. Anyway, we ready to wrap this up, Todd?
Yeah, I think that's about it, yeah.
All right, guys. Thanks for listening. Get fucking dunked on. Bye.
Booyah.